This guy here, Dan Wootton, wrote some bad things about Johnny in The Sun, and now there's an investigation out against Dan, so Dan will be busy for the holiday season. Byline Times here has been following Dan pretty closely, but they had some dead air for a little while. Now, what I think this is it's a paid subscription article that they released to the public a little bit after the members got to see it. So it's called The Truth About Megxit, How Dan Wootton and a Cash for Leaks Scandal Split the Royal Family. So they're saying Danny Boy here split the royal family. Well, there's a long article, so get out some popcorn maybe, and here we go. King Charles withdrew his £700,000 funding deal for his son Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's transition to a life in Canada in retaliation for the naming of a top royal aide in legal papers alleging a cash for leaks agreement with the journalist no other than Dan Wootton, Byline Times can reveal. The financial sanction came after the Duke of Sussex defied the demands of the then Prince of Wales and palace staff by declining to remove the name of the former Kensington Palace press secretary Christian Jones from a letter before action to Wootton's former employer, The Sun, in May 2020. Jones denies any suggestion of wrongdoing or leaking confidential information about the royal household. The matters alleged in the letter before action about him appear to have been dropped, but the sudden defunding of the Sussexes in late June 2020 led to the collapse of the Sandringham Agreement governing a 12-month trial period as the couple sought to split their time between the UK and Canada and remove themselves from the Royal Rota, the press pool given exclusive inside access to cover the royals. Right. They wanted to just live that happy, fun lifestyle and not have the responsibilities of the royals. Old news, but worth repeating. It came just 3 months into the trial period and led directly to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex having to enter into private commercial agreements to pay the estimated £3 million a year of 24-hour security to their family. All right, man. So they're worth about $100 million combined. So £3 million, I think's more than $3 million. But even if so, that's a bunch of cash just for security they kind of need, kind of don't. One well-placed source with knowledge of the matter told Byline Times they threatened the removal of the funding to try and protect the royal household from a potential courtroom scandal with Jones and Wootton very publicly at the center. The actual removal of the funding weeks later was about control and designed to force Harry and Meghan to come back to the senior royal family in the UK where their security would be assured. The source added, the greater truth is that Harry and Meghan make better headlines than the King and Kamala or William and Kate. The idea of them still being in public service but abroad and out of the control of the institution and dominating the media narrative just couldn't happen. Right, that makes sense. I see that. You see that. We know that. Harry and Meghan still making headlines today for looking at coffee table books and probably showing their kids, Saturday morning cartoons or whatever the heck it is, but they make headlines. Kamala, William and Kate, kind of, but not really. They say senior members of the family wanted them back after the transition period and were ready to continue playing dirty to make this happen. They never thought the trial period would work and tried everything to make it fail, starting with the removal of security and then signing off a 12-month assault by the UK press on Harry and Meghan and everyone in their orbit. And let me say, the American press wasn't much better either. There pretty much was no Eastern press in Asia. Maybe some press in other parts of the West were more or less ignoring them, but I never saw anybody sticking up for them or being like, this stuff isn't true, they're good people. Wasn't quite like that. They say that it's no surprise they've endured such a degrading time from such a willing British media when the same just isn't true elsewhere in the world, which is what I was saying. Elsewhere in the world was either just not talking about it or the American media, which didn't seem so great either about them. So this is the part where they get into Dan and they say there's a telling detail in here about Dan and his involvement. They say a publicist named Christian Jones received payments of £4,000 from Rupert Murdoch, nonetheless, allegedly for articles relating to the Sussexes. And obviously, Murdoch's connected to you-know-who as well. And here's where they get into what Dan printed. Jones has always denied being the source of any unauthorized information about the Sussexes getting into the press, including details of a written summary that Prince Harry had given Prince Charles in December 2019 of plans to move his family to North America, which Wootton reported initially on the front page of The Sun on January 7th, 2020, before running day after day of negative coverage. And next, they have what Harry said in his book Spare about Dan. In his best-selling book Spare, Harry said Wootton's information included a telling detail about an offer to relinquish their titles. There was only one document on Earth in which that detail was mentioned, my private and confidential letter to my father, he writes, to which a shockingly, damningly small number of people had access. We hadn't even mentioned it to our closest friends, and you'd be pretty stupid if you did. Byline Times can now reveal the story. So-called Mexit was published on the same day that the Sussexes were planning their own announcement. It prompted a constitutional crisis and wrongly claimed that Prince Harry had blindsided his then 93-year-old grandmother, provoking a widespread public backlash when in fact, according to Spare, the Queen had been aware since January 3rd. In the book, in which Wootton was referred to as a sad little man, Prince Harry revealed how a further meeting set up with the Queen was blocked by palace staff and how she had already signed off on a previous plan for a grandson of Meghan to move in part to South Africa. Okay, that's odd. So it looks like by Dan's little media coverage, he threw a wrench in the plans of what was going on there for the royals. And of course, the timing of his coverage. So for me, that was about the gist of it. These articles are very long, they've got all the details, but some of them kind of go around the surface and they're not all directly about Dan. What it seems is Dan used his influence in the media, he put something out there that apparently, according to Harry, was a lie about the royals and caused some backlash. But of course, Dan right now doesn't have that power anymore because there are allegations against him and he is now gone from the Mail Online, gone from the Sun, and just not heard of so much. Come Geeksum's also covering this in detail. Maybe check him out. Shout to Dan. He'll probably cover some details I missed. When more comes up on Dan, I'll definitely cover it. There's, just like I said, been some dead air for a little while from the media and Byline Times, but let's see what happens. Obviously, he's paid the price already. He's gotten canceled from everything important, so you can't really say what's going to happen, is karma going to get him? It got him, that's for sure. We're just waiting to see what actually turns out as far as definitive truth and allegations, things like that. Maybe some kind of financial punishment directly. I don't know. Time shall tell. Yeah, my collar keeps getting messed up. If you're not subscribed here, consider it. If you don't, I'll be sad, but I'll get over it. See you next time.